Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to Morbid early and ad-free. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
You're listening to a Morbid Network podcast.
Redacted, Declassified Mysteries is a new podcast hosted by me, Luke LaManna. Each week, I dive into the hidden truths behind the world's most powerful institutions, from covert government experiments to bizarre assassination attempts. Follow Redacted on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, weirdos. I'm Elena.
I'm Ash.
And this is Morbid in the Morning.
That was off. It's actually Morbid in the Morning.
This is my Morbid in the Morning. And that is yours. Okay?
There's only one. There could only be one.
All right. The show's over. Bye.
We're out of here.
We're done.
I just slammed my computer shut.
Did you hear that?
A little too aggressively. I probably shouldn't have done that.
Everything's gone now.
I think mine wins because it's to the tune of Rolling with the Homies.
Yeah, that is a good one. All right, I'll give you that.
Thank
okay?
you. Yeah,
I'm gonna, you know.
Give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, I'll give that. But hi, everybody.
Hello.
It's the morning.
This was a fake fight.
It was fake. We're not ending. Don't worry.
We don't have like a ton of bidnass to talk about today, but we are doing a show this Sunday. And it's the summer solstice show, so you know it's going to be good. We've got costumes as usual.
Of course.
We are going to talk about. Should we tell them what we're going to talk about? Get them interested, or should I be surprised?
let's kind of like.
Yeah, let's pique the interest.
It's gonna be culty.
We're gonna talk about some cults,
Yeah.
and you know we're gonna live that cult life.
We really are. So and when we say that, we really mean it.
Oh,
we're gonna
absolutely.
It's gonna be a lot.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, if you would like to join our cult, you can go to onlocationlive.com/category/morbid. I believe tickets are still available for this event, and just so everybody knows that even if you haven't bought tickets yet, or if you have, this is going to be available for up to 7 days after Sunday.
Yeah. So you got time.
Yeah.
You got time.
If you haven't got your dad a Father's Day gift yet, give him the gift of us.
Give him the gift of a cult experience.
I was gonna say, give your dad a cult for his day.
As Karen and Georgia would say, you're in a cult. Call your dad.
Yeah, except maybe your dad might call you because you got him in a cult.
So
then
there
what
you
are you
go.
gonna do?
I don't know.
I don't have advice for that.
Maybe you call Karen and Georgia at that point. I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm not real sure.
They said though to call your dad. So
I know.
Don't call them.
I'm trying to make it
Don't
work.
cold call them.
Yeah, I mean, don't cold call. I mean, how? How would anybody cold call Karen and Georgia?
I don't know. I don't know your life.
I love that you're like, God, don't do
call
that.
them. No,
Don't use the phone number you have for Karen and Georgia collectively and cold call them.
like they have a collective number.
It's just the Karen and Georgia line.
The hotline.
Hello, welcome to My Favorite Murder.
Shout out to My Favorite Murder.
I was just gonna say, not that they need it, but like promo for My Favorite Murder.
Yeah, right. Well,
But this is gonna be a doozy of a case.
yeah, this is a lot. One might say the most.
Yeah, I'm both excited and really terrified.
Yeah, we're going to be
For
talking
what's to come.
about the Bradford murders today, otherwise known as the Cannibal Crossbow killings, or the Crossbow Cannibal killings.
Whichever one feels right to you.
Yeah, alliteration. You can do it
I
either
hope
way.
neither of them feel right to you. But
None of this should
Yeah,
feel right.
none of this should feel
This should
right.
all feel very icky, very dirty, and very scary.
You should be very unsettled right now and only get worse throughout this episode.
Correct. All right. So now that we set you up with that lovely intro, I guess we should just get into it.
Let's jump right in.
So we're going to be talking about Stephen Sean Griffiths, and he was born actually on Christmas Eve.
Oh, look at him.
Celebrate. Just
Look at
don't,
that.
though. And it was 1969 when he was born in Dewsbury, West Yorkshire.
Dewsbury.
Dewsbury, I hope I said that right. His parents were Stephen Sr. and Moira Griffiths. Not Moira Rose.
I was going to say.
Very different people.
Different Moira.
Now, he was the oldest of 3 children, but unfortunately, when he was 13, Stephen Sr. and Moira decided they were going to end their marriage. Moira was the one to win primary custody of all 3 kids, which is very strange because Moira was a literal criminal.
Oh.
Yeah, she had been charged with fraud and apparently like was known in town as like a con artist. Like it was a very well-known fact that she really liked to con people.
Wow.
It was also rumored that she was a worker, and people around town said that they would see her out in her garden, not exactly like planting or pulling weeds, but completely naked and entertaining some male company.
In her secret garden.
Yeah, it was a secret garden. It's like, do whatever you want in your garden as long as you're not murdering people and your kids aren't around.
Exactly.
But Stephen seemed to always be around when Moira was in the garden, not gardening. And unbeknownst to her, he would watch her and her male company.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
That always ends up poorly.
Always, always, always. It reminded me of like the BTK thing. Actually, he reminds me of BTK in like a couple of ways that we'll get into.
Yeah, there's a lot of those that had, mothers that
stuff.
they would watch or view or know about what was going on. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, that's like a perfect recipe for a serial killer
For
here.
disaster.
Maybe think about that.
Yeah, maybe definitely
Think about what
that.
you're unleashing onto the world when
Yeah.
you do that.
Like,
You know?
don't get it in the garden if your kids are around.
Do your thing. Just don't have kids if that's what you want to do. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, if you want to get freaky
Then
in the
you don't
garden,
have to worry about it.
do it while they're away.
You want to get freaky in the garden? Get freaky in the garden. But don't do it when your
Put
kids
that
are
shirt.
around.
Get freaky in the garden.
Get freaky in the garden. Just do it when no one's around.
Exactly.
There you go.
Do it like no one's watching.
Get
because
freaky in the
because they're
garden
not.
like no one's watching. There you go.
Get freaky in your secret garden while no one's
there you
watching.
go.
All right, I think we've killed it now.
We killed that joke.
So now, a lot of people think that Stephen's hatred, like not only for women, but especially for workers, started with his mother.
Oh, really? A lot of people think that?
A lot of people do think that.
That's a really good theory.
It's a good start to
Yeah.
everything, yeah. Now, the neighbors weren't only aware of Moira's garden activity, but Stephen was having some activity time in the garden as well.
What the fuck was going on with this garden? I gotta know.
A lot.
Are there certain plants that are like aphrodisiacs or something? Like, what's happening?
I don't know about that.
I'm just saying.
Our plant can, like, if you eat a certain plant, I wonder if there are ones that are aphrodisiacs.
I'm sure.
Everything's an aphrodisiac
know.
if you try hard enough.
Some aromatics.
I don't know why, but that just made me think of Febreze. Like,
Hey, there you go.
it's like when you say a word and then you're like, what does that remind you of? Like,
Febreze.
I say a word, you say a word. Aromatics, Febreze. Am I all right?
No.
How many times an episode do I say that also? But anyways, people were noticing Stephen's nighttime garden activity. People only saw him in the garden at night. And really, that's the only time anyone ever saw Stephen, like was at night. People literally referred to him as nocturnal.
You know, that makes me sad because there's a really beautiful children's book called The Night Gardener that I love
there
to read to
is.
my
You're
children, and this is giving me scary vibes, and I
Well-
don't love it. Because what was he doing?
Thank you for that segue.
You're
because I was
welcome.
going to say, he wasn't doing like what the night gardener was doing.
He
like
wasn't making like beautiful, topiaries.
tree artwork.
No.
They would see him in the garden at night, like shooting birds
Oh,
and then dissecting those birds
at night?
at night.
That's weird.
Oh, you didn't get that, but it was a SpongeBob reference.
No, I did not.
It's like,
But that's
all
weird.
the signs were there. Like, he hated his mom. He only was seen at night, and now he's dissecting birds.
Yeah, and at night. That's like weird to me.
It's
You're
very-
dissecting them with no light.
Very strange.
It's very Jack the Ripper-y.
It's very creepy. Jack the Ripper actually was one of his idols. So
Oh, hey, there you go.
Makes
Because he would
sense.
do his dissections like with no streetlights, and everybody was like, "How the hell did he do that?"
yeah. Well, that's
Look at
what
this guy.
That's what Stephen wanted to do as
Look
well.
at this guy, Stephen.
Now, by all accounts, Stephen's father, sadly, was like really trying his best for all of his kids. He was actually the one who saved up all the money that it would cost to send Stephen to a better school, the Queen Elizabeth Grammar School. But it didn't end up being worth it because Stephen was not interested in school or people his own age at all.
Okay.
While he was in school, his teacher said that he would just like sit in the back and not contribute to any discussion or engage with any of the other students. And the other students said that he was like really in his own little world. Like
Oh, yeah.
he was not not entertaining any other conversations at all.
You see that a lot with these kind of people.
Only just chilling in the back.
They totally seal themselves off from everything else.
Yeah, and he really loved like those like fantasy worlds. Like
I was literally just gonna say, I guarantee he was super into fantasy.
He was super. That was literally my next sentence. He was really into like dragons. He would read books about dragons and like dragon slayers like that,
which by itself is
super
not
cool.
Weird
at
all. And it's like, but when it's coming out of that like trauma, that's when they don't know how to shut it off.
Well, because that's like a coping mechanism.
Exactly.
It's like you go to another place in your world. It's like a it's like a disassociative thing.
And normally children like who don't have trauma know when to shut that off and when to join the real world and when to play with friends and when to talk to family and answer teachers.
Right.
But kids that went through what he's going through, that's where they live.
And sometimes that can become their actual real world.
In a quiet suburb, a community is shattered by the death of a beloved wife and mother. But this tragic loss of life quickly turns into something even darker. Her husband had tried to hire a hitman on the dark web to kill her. And she wasn't the only target. Because buried in the depths of the internet is the kill list, a cache of chilling documents containing names, photos, addresses, and specific instructions for people's murders. This podcast is the true story of how I ended up in a race against time to warn those whose lives were in danger. And it turns out, convincing a total stranger someone wants them dead is not easy. Follow Kill List on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Kill List and more Exhibit C true crime shows like Morbid early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus. Check out Exhibit C in the Wondery app for all your true crime listening.
Hotshot Australian attorney Nicola Gaba was born into legal royalty. Her specialty? Representing some of the city's most infamous gangland criminals. However, while Nicola held the underworld's darkest secrets, the most dangerous secret was her own.
She's going to all the major groups within Melbourne's underworld, and she's informing on them all.
I'm Marcia Clark, host of the new podcast, Informants Lawyer X. In my long career in criminal justice as a prosecutor and defense attorney, I've seen some crazy cases, and this one belongs right at the top of the list.
She was addicted to the game she had created. She just didn't know how to stop.
Now, through dramatic interviews and access, I'll reveal the truth behind one of the world's most shocking legal scandals. Listen to Informants Lawyer X exclusively on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, and listen to more Exhibit C true crime shows early and ad-free right now.
Now, this is scary too because, this part isn't scary. He also really loved martial arts, but this next part is scary because on more than one occasion, he got into trouble for bringing weapons to school. The weapons, scarily enough, were things like throwing stars. You know what those are?
Yeah, those scary ass, like really sharp things.
Yeah, I had to Google it, and then it brought me to Amazon, and I was like, no, I don't want to purchase one.
Do you want to buy one?
I'm like, don't mess up my Amazon suggested.
Yeah, don't want that.
And he also would bring like some kind of dagger to school.
Oh, that's not okay.
And knowing what we know now about this guy, that was like enough to send a shiver down my spine.
Yeah.
Like, you're bringing that to school when you're like 13, and then we know what you're going to do later. That's terrifying. Now, he ended up dropping out of school, which is why I said it wasn't worth it to spend the money. He turned 16, and then he was like, I'm all set. And he started getting into trouble very quickly. It started out with shoplifting, as it always does, but things quickly escalated, and he moved on to things like pulling a knife on a store manager and slashing the guy's face open.
That's a big leap.
The usual.
That's a big leap.
You know, the manager had actually caught Stephen in the middle of shoplifting, and that he like tried to stop him, and that's when Stephen pulled out the knife and slashed his face open.
Jesus, that's like going to like try to actually kill someone.
Oh, absolutely.
You're putting a knife into their face. You don't know what you're going to hit.
All Stephen wanted to do was kill someone from a very young age.
Very clear.
Now, he spent 3 years in prison for that attack. And while he was in prison, he was telling anyone who would listen to him that his main goal in life was to become a serial killer. Like, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted the notoriety. He wanted to copy other people. Like, he loved Jack the Ripper. He had a really specific fascination with the Yorkshire Ripper. Yorkshire Ripper. Yeah. Peter Sutcliffe. And it also reminds me of, like, Charles Manson being in jail at a super young age and telling everybody, like, I should stay here. Like,
yeah, like, just letting everybody know.
Don't let me out.
This is the plan.
And it's because they're telling everybody what they're going to do when they're released. But obviously, I think, like we said in the Charlie Manson episode, that's not a crime. You can't keep somebody in prison longer for that. So I don't really know what you're supposed to do. So after the 3 years, he was released, but again, quickly landed himself in the slammer for pulling a knife on a young girl and holding it to her throat.
Jesus.
And just a year before that, actually, he had been sentenced to 100 hours of community service for having a gun in his possession. That was actually the gun that he was still using to shoot birds and dissect them.
Oh.
So yeah, we've got a lot going on.
We have a lot going on.
We do. And it was at 22 years old that Stephen was officially diagnosed as a schizoid psychopath. Now, that's a different disorder than schizophrenia, but according to the Mayo Clinic, it can have some similar symptoms to schizotypal personality disorder and schizophrenia. Okay. So, like, the things that they share in common are a severely limited ability to make social connections and a lack of emotional expression.
Okay.
So in this case, it really makes a lot of sense because he actually received that diagnosis after pulling a knife again on some girls that he thought were making fun of him. But they were like, we weren't making fun of him. Like, we thought he was in on the joke.
Ah, okay.
But it's like he couldn't
But he couldn't understand that was the case.
Right, exactly.
Again, reality is not something he's able to really grasp.
Right, but then looking more and more into this, like, yes, that's absolutely a mental illness, but people with this mental illness still know the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah.
So it's not okay that he went on to murder a lot of people.
Yeah.
So now, while all that was going on, Stephen met a woman named Zita Pinder. I guess they met after putting out an ad in the Lonely Hearts column, which usually would be adorable.
Right? Because there's a few killers that use the Lonely Hearts.
Yes.
So now it just has this ominous, like, spooky feeling to it.
Well,
every time I hear it.
I couldn't figure out if, like, he had put the ad out or if she had, or, like, they both did and, like, somehow met. I don't know which one of them did it.
No, I don't know.
But that's how they met. And they met at a pub for some dinner for their first date, and things actually went really well. But looking back on their relationship as an entire whole, there was a lot of red flags.
I'm shocked.
For one thing, Stephen gave Zeta a picture of himself that he had professionally taken on their first date. He was just like,
screaming.
Here, I had this picture taken of me. I'd like you to keep it.
I am screaming.
It's like in senior year when you, like, give your friends your senior picture and you're like, put this in your wallet.
Put this in your wallet.
But different and a little bit weird.
Wow.
She, like, laughed it off at the time. I think she said she called him a poser. She was like, oh, look at you little poser. Like, she thought it was funny. But knowing what she knows now, she's like, oh, okay.
Cool.
Awesome. She remembered that he really liked horror films. Not exactly, like, in the way that me, you, and Caleb like them, though. She said, like, whenever someone was murdered, he would just start laughing hysterically.
Yeah, that's not liking horror films.
That's not liking horror films. That's
not
liking
that.
Murder.
That's like thinking. And again, he doesn't know how to separate it from reality. So to him, that seems like reality.
Exactly.
And that's funny to him.
That's his reality.
That's his reality.
He also was like a super, super paranoid sleeper. And if you don't like bugs, you should probably skip this part.
Oh, no.
But Zeta said that he was absolutely terrified of insects crawling in his ears in his sleep. So he always had to plug his ears with cotton wool.
Ugh.
That
just made my...
I hate. Now, there was one night he spent with Zeta, and she told him that she didn't have any cotton. She was like, you probably like, hey, you used it all. I don't have any.
You stuck it all in your ears.
And he was like, okay, like, I'm not getting into bed with you then. Like, I can't go to sleep. And he stayed up all night.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Definitely like some paranoia mixed in there as well.
For sure.
Which is, honestly, that's sad. But
that is.
You can feel bad for like that part of it, but don't feel bad overall like we always
Exactly.
Say. Now, for the first part of their relationship, which lasted a total of 2 years, Zeta just assumed that Stephen lived with his parents because she didn't ever see his apartment.
Yeah.
But somehow she found out that he had his own place.
What?
And she was like, We've been together for 2 years, and like this entire time I kind of just thought you lived with your parents. Like, can I see your house? Like,
weird.
Am I allowed to go there? And he was like, oh yeah, like I'll take you tomorrow. Like, let's go.
Like 2 years later, he's like
2 years ago.
Well, like, of course you can come over.
Should have just asked.
You want to come to my place?
I didn't want to assume that you wanted to come, so I just never brought it up. It's like, what?
It's so bizarre.
So then, well, there was a reason he didn't take her there.
Oh, there was?
Yes.
I'm shocked.
Stephen picked her up and the two of them just drove over to his place. He lived in a 3rd floor apartment in Bradford, not far from the red light district. And as they walked in the door, Stephen just started showing her around, like showing her different knickknacks that he had, his names for certain things. Xena was horrified.
Uh-oh.
Absolutely horrified, because there was a lot of stuff laying around that was like super creepy. He had horror films lined up on the shelves in the living room, but there weren't just like 30 horror films. There was hundreds of them. Mm-hmm. There was also like hundreds and hundreds of books about serial killers. And when I first read that, I was like, I literally, when I first read that, I was like, okay, so he and Elena share a decor style.
I was literally like,
Did they share a Pinterest board?
What?
Like, but then I got to the part of the research where
I'm feeling attacked here, okay?
Okay, well, this is where you're not going to feel so attacked.
Good.
Because I got into the part where they talk about his crossbows and samurai swords that were just like laying around.
Okay.
Which you don't have.
No, I don't have
You
that.
do have like autopsy shit though, which is a little bit weird.
I do,
so.
but you know.
But I love you, and I know for a fact you haven't killed anybody and never would. So
no, I have not.
So it's okay. So again, that might not sound like super alarming to a community like all of us, but in some sources, I also read that a lot of his surfaces in the apartment were just covered in plastic, like Dexter style.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, that'll get a little bit weird. For sure.
I mean, I just want to know, like, was there a reason? Like, did he give a reason? Did anyone ask?
I don't know if she asked. I think she was just like, I'm really not feeling well. I'd like to leave.
Because I feel like I would at least be like, hey, like, nice plastic. Like, what's the plan? Like, are you renovating or something happened? Like, I would need at least something.
I think there was a lot of context clues for her, and she was like, you know, I don't think I'm going to ask what the plan is, because I think after this I'm never coming back here, so I don't really need a lot of like context clues.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the safest way to go about it.
Yeah,
to be honest.
She said that she had immediately like a super bad feeling about this place, and she was like, I just thought this guy was like a cool goth dude. Like, I did not think that this is what I was going to walk into.
Yeah.
So she was like, well, she did ask. She was like, what's the deal with all this dark stuff? Like, you know, and he goes, I just like stuff like this. But
okay,
it's fair. It's absolutely fair. But other than like the plastic, like you just like plastic.
I was gonna, because that one, everything else, I'm like, all right, okay, like that, whatever. Like you like what you like, that's fine. But and then the plastic, and that's why I was like.
But again, I only read that in some sources.
I don't know how to like justify that. I don't really know how to be like, you like what you like.
But I mean, then again, think of it, like people put those plastic things on their couch.
I was just gonna say, actually. like especially like, I'm not saying everybody who has this is old, but older people tend to have like the plastic on the couch that you would sit on. It's like
I never understand the point.
And it's, you know, it's so you don't hurt the furniture. So maybe he was just really
loved his furniture, but
or maybe he was trying to set up a kill room like Dexter.
Probably that.
I think that's what I was trying. I can't get there.
Yeah. Now again, just to like really like drive this point home, I only saw that in like a few sources, but I felt like it was worth mentioning because you know, we can't totally rule it out. I wasn't there. Zeta was, though, and she was like, I'd like to leave now. And she made something up on the fly, and she was like, can you drive me home? And then the next day, she called Stephen and broke up with him.
Broke up with him.
She just broked it right off.
She just broke up with him.
And now it would be 10 years before she saw him again, except it wasn't in person. She saw his She saw his face flash across the TV screen one day, and all of her feelings about this man were confirmed.
Oh,
but
boy.
Before we get to that, we have one more thing to talk about.
I was like, how?
We have to talk about the second woman that Stephen dated.
Okay.
Her name was Kathy, and their relationship was absolutely terrifying. Kathy worked as a prison officer, actually. And when she met Stephen, she thought, again, he was just like a cool goth dude. Like, she liked his style. She was into it. He had the look down. He had like super long black hair. He would dress in like dark clothes and trench coats and stuff like that. And she was like, oh, hell yeah, like that's my vibe.
Yeah.
It would have been a whole ass vibe if he wasn't such a monster.
Exactly.
But it was only 2 weeks into their relationship that Kathy started to get to know a completely different person. This was not the guy that she thought he was. He was controlling, he was violent, and he was willing to go to great lengths to get her to do whatever he wanted. She wasn't allowed to go anywhere if he wasn't with her. And really early on in the relationship, he started talking about, like, you need to move in with me. I want you to live with me. Like, I don't want you to live on your own. But she couldn't move in with him because she had 2 dogs of her own, and I don't think he could have them in his apartment. So instead of accepting that, he decided that the dogs were getting more attention than him, and he didn't like that.
Oh, no.
Now, don't worry. Nothing happens to the dogs. That's
okay, cool.
Detrimental to their life.
But still.
Yeah, so he went over to Kathy's house because he was like, I'm going to do something about this. And he offered her like some kind of antidepressant. And she was already on a different kind of medication for depression. And Stephen knew that these 2 particular medicines couldn't be mixed. Like, it could be deadly if they mixed. So she took what he gave her because she didn't really know exactly what it was, or she trusted him what he said it was. And she immediately started to feel really weird. She was getting delirious. And she said that as she like started to tell him, like, I'm feeling really off, and like she was just like really panicking, he stood over her laughing hysterically and just went, "You're dying."
What?
Laughing like maniacally and just went, "You're dying."
And think about like think about like a panicked moment.
Yeah.
And all you're searching for is comfort.
And then you just add like 50 pounds of panic onto your chest.
And somebody's standing over you laughing.
Saying, "You're dying."
Oh my God. That like gave me...
And it's not just someone, it's your
person
boyfriend.
You're dating.
Like, she luckily he refused to call an ambulance for her. So she luckily was able to drive herself to the hospital. Wow. Like, she could have died on the way there. Yeah. And she had to spend the night to be treated. And luckily she was able to get treated and everything was okay. But when she got home the next day, her dogs were gone. And Stephen told her that her house had been robbed, which was super duper weird because nothing else in the house was touched. It was just the dogs that were gone. And a neighbor confirmed that he left when she went to the hospital, but a neighbor said that he came back later around like 3:45 in the morning and he took the dogs with him. And later Kathy found out that he just like gave the dogs away to someone. So he gave her dogs away. So then,
honestly, that is horrific.
Right. But then she was like, I have nowhere to go. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, so she moved in with him. She had no choice. He literally forced her to move in with him, excuse me. Now, their relationship, by the way, only lasted a year. All of this happened within the span of a year.
Oh my God.
And throughout the rest of their dating, Stephen would regularly beat Kathy. He split her lip. He broke her nose. He stabbed her in the legs on multiple occasions.
What?
He told her one of the reasons that he liked her was that she fought back and it gave him, quote, a thrill.
No.
Now, in 2001, Kathy found out that she was pregnant.
Oh,
so
Kathy.
Now there's really no way out of this.
Oh, man.
But Stephen's behavior completely changed. He was so excited to be a dad. He was like, we're going to do this. Like, I'm so excited. But he was definitely still an asshole, and he didn't go to most of Kathy's appointments with her, including one where she found out that unfortunately her pregnancy was ectopic.
Oh,
so she was going to have to lose the baby.
That's really sad.
So sad. And she said, she was like, I was sad about it, but it was very early on in the pregnancy. So in her mind, she was like, for me, it hadn't become a baby yet, like a total baby.
For some people, it's, everybody feels different.
And I'm sure that was also like, she probably kind of told herself that to get through
and
it
at
all.
least I'm glad she was able to like kind of cope that
deal
way.
with it some way, right?
Because ectopic pregnancies are really, really dangerous. You can really scary. 100% you can die.
Yeah, it's scary.
And it's very traumatic.
I looked into it because I was like, do you always have to lose the baby? And there's been like some super rare cases where people have had ectopic pregnancies and like delivered.
Wow.
It was like, I think I literally found like 2.
I was going to say that must have been extraordinarily rare.
Because usually the baby can't usually live outside of the womb,
No,
obviously.
Of course. And you can't usually have a baby outside of the womb. That kills you easily.
Right.
It's a really scary thing that happens. Yeah.
It's sad because there's no way of preventing it. It just happens.
No, it's literally just luck of the draw.
Right.
It's one of those things.
Or not luck.
Yeah.
But so Stephen's reaction, she came home and she told him, and she said that his reaction was very strange. She said he took the positive pregnancy test stick, which we had kept, and he made a coffin for it. Which, sure, like, some of the things that people are, like, thinking are strange for him are just, like, he's not, like, your average everyday Joe Schmo. Like, he's into, like, some darker stuff. And, you know, if he wants to make a coffin for the baby that he lost and put the pregnancy stick in there, okay.
That's the thing. It's like, you know,
you can't judge everything.
Like, some of these things are, like, they, of course, now.
Right.
It rings very, very scary and strange.
Because looking back, those things all line up with each other.
And at the time, you might be like, okay, like, this is a lot.
Yeah.
But, like, when you're judging it off of, like, you know, separate events, you're just kind of like, yeah, sure, that's a little weird. But, like,
people are weird.
People want to react however they want to react.
We're weird.
But right now, when we know what happens, it's like, ugh.
Like,
that's weird.
That's real weird,
that's
dude.
Scary.
Now, though, this was when Kathy finally had the chance to get out of the relationship. So they were going on vacation. And she actually enlisted the help of one of Stephen's ex-girlfriends, Amanda. And while they were on vacation, Amanda went to Stephen's flat, they call it, and packed up all of Kathy's things that were like at Stephen's flat and set them aside for her.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
And when they got back, Kathy was able to escape Stephen because of that.
Amazing.
She got her dog, who was staying with his dad, and like quite literally just went into hiding for the next few years.
Wow.
But somehow Stephen would find her, find out where she was, or trick her into speaking with him again. There was one occasion where he actually came to her parents' house. He like knew that she was there somehow, came to her house, slashed all the tires on her car, and then crashed his car on the way home on purpose and told the responding officers to please call her. Now,
wow.
When she tried to get to him, because she's an amazing person apparently, who just like wanted to help him, she like tried to get to him, but I guess he called her and was like, yeah, I actually slashed all your tires, so you're gonna have to figure out a different way to get here. And she was like,
you're gonna need a new method of transportation.
Are you kidding me? Like,
what?
Now
I love that he's just like, yeah, I slashed all your tires.
But like, please come rescue me.
But like, come get me.
But like, you literally halted the production of me coming to see you.
Yeah,
dude.
It's like you stopped that, sir.
You're annoying. So
you're annoying.
This next part is a trigger warning for animal cruelty. So beep, 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 beep. If you just want to schedule a 15-second skip ahead.
Gotta go pee, go pee.
Good. So there was another time that he called her knowing how much she loved animals. And he would do this from time to time. It's so hard to even say this. He had cut the tail off of a little puppy that he had just got. He got the puppy like hopped up on like Valium, I think it was, and just decided that he was going to like cut the tail off himself.
This guy.
It makes me so angry. Now,
that like makes my stomach hurt.
He called her and told her this was happening, knowing that it would get her to come to him to rescue this puppy. And luckily, she was able to get to him and take the puppy, and she saved the puppy's life. So he lived.
Oh, good. Okay. But
yeah,
trauma.
But he would continue to stalk her for years to come. He stalked her for a total of 10 years. They dated for 1 year.
And that makes me crazy because like the laws with stalking and are so f***ed up and just don't help the victims. And it makes me crazy because you see these cases and you're like, who's helping her?
Well, because it wasn't until the late 90s in our country, in America, when stalking laws got put into place. I'm not so sure about like England, but this was like the late 90s.
Yeah,
so.
And it's like, come on,
and even still to this day, like
they're still not as tightened up as they should be.
Right, there's not a lot that they can do.
They just don't treat it as dangerous enough as what it is.
And they don't. It's a lead up. Like serial killers stalk their victims.
Exactly, and they treat it like, oh well, you know, they're not doing anything to hurt, and it's like, no, they are. They're violating people's privacy and right to live their life, and they're escalating. That's an escalation. Well, that's going to happen.
This one was absolutely an
They
escalation.
need to treat it like that.
They do, for sure.
There's certain things that people do that are not murder that they need to treat like like it's ready to be escalated to murder, because they are always a lead up to it.
Well, because exactly how many cases do we have where we show like the stalking period, or even just an attempted murder, an attempted rape, or a rape or a murder when it gets to that point, you know, like you have to stop that.
Exactly.
The entire point of law enforcement.
Exactly.
So this is one of those cases where something should have happened, because he would show up at places he knew she was going to be at. He would text her scary things all the time. She'd change her number. He'd find it. And he would usually do these things because she took out multiple protective orders, but he would usually do them right when the protective order ended, and it was going to take some time for the next one.
My
now,
God.
She lived with her parents for like a long time, or she would live in like little like hidden places that she thought that he wouldn't find, but he would always find. But then I guess she went through a period where like he didn't find her for a little bit. So she felt like it was finally safe to get her own place.
Yeah.
And she did, but he found out where she lived.
Of course.
And she had 2 cats, and then she had 2 outdoor cats that like weren't hers. They were strays, but they came to her house all the time. So
yeah.
she
so
thought
she,
of them as hers.
them hers.
And he knew that. And he found out where she lived. And while she was away on vacation, he killed the outdoor cats, graffitied her house, and painted all of the windows yellow. Spray painted all of the windows yellow. Right.
Like what?
So law enforcement was very, very well aware of him. Like,
I was just
very
gonna
well
say,
aware of him.
And at that point, what do you expect someone to do?
To spray paint somebody's house yellow. And I think he spray painted like slag on the side of her house. Dude, and he would consistently find her.
And it's like, what do you expect her to do at this point?
Because she can't go anywhere.
Like,
this has been 10 years of her life.
At some point, she's going to have to defend herself, and she's going to have to make this stop.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, what do you think is going to happen here?
Right.
Nothing is going to end up good. Like, this is not going to have a good ending if somebody doesn't help her.
And it doesn't, unfortunately. Luckily, Kathy was able to get away from him eventually, and Zeta was able to get away from him. But these were not the only women that he tried to intimidate. There were a lot of other women who had similar run-ins with him, that they just happened to get away from him before anything got too serious. There was actually a worker who literally, like, considered him like a brother. He would let her come shower at his house, and like he would make her food, and she was like, he was a really nice guy, and like I literally stayed at his house on multiple occasions.
Oh my God.
And I never had any inkling that he was like this.
It was like a choice for certain women.
It absolutely was. And there were multiple women that he contacted through MySpace that felt super uncomfortable with the things he would say to them. He loved MySpace, by the way. One woman said that he knew her location and was able to tell her where she was at a certain time that he should not have known. And she ignored that message because she was like, I'm not going to feed into this. Like, that's terrifying, but like, what am I going to say? So he sent her another message that was like really irritated and was like, I know where you are. Like, answer me. Like, what? Crazy. So yeah. And like I said, he was a big MySpace guy, and he used the name Ven Pariah for his profile, which later on becomes like his alter ego. Now, Ven, I guess, was short for Stephen, and then Pariah, obviously, is somebody like
pariah.
A pariah of society. So that was like what he went by, like after a little while. Now, around 2007, the police were like, hey, maybe we should like check in on that guy who told everyone that he wanted to become a serial killer and then stalked his ex to the point where she had to get multiple protective orders. Maybe we should like see what he's up to.
Yeah, let's see if everything's okay over there.
Yeah, like let's check that out.
Maybe he's chilled out and everything's fine.
Yeah, they were also catching wind that he was reading books about dismemberment out in the open, as well as taking his gigantic pet lizards on walks around the halls of his apartment on a dog leash.
Yo.
So like really escalating here. He had pet lizards.
This is a lot.
That he would take on walks around his apartment in a dog leash. If I ever saw a man walking around my apartment with a 3-foot lizard on a dog leash, I don't know who I would call, but I would call someone. Oh my God. Like, yeah, I don't even think they could handle it.
I don't think so.
That's a case for lizard busters.
It's like, what?
He would also like take them into clubs. Like he liked to go to like clubs at night and stuff.
And he would just bring his lizards?
He would bring his lizards in like a backpack.
Oh, that would probably stress them out so much. That makes me so sad.
Well, and lizards, like especially like they had like very specific like temperature conditions that they need to be in. And he would also feed them live mice. Like he also had snakes, and he would feed the snakes live mice, which makes me so sad.
But I think that's like a thing if you have...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, that's why I don't want to have a snake or a lizard.
But this next part is not a thing. A man once saw him eat a baby mice himself. A live baby mice. He ate it.
A live baby mice.
Mouse. I'm stressed. So the English is hard.
Past tense is not a thing right now.
He ate a baby mouse.
Why did he do that?
That was alive for scare factor. I don't know.
That was like a live baby mouse. He just ate it.
He ate a baby mouse that was once living.
No,
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say about that. That just feels very Ozzy Osbourne.
It does. So yeah, the police were getting wind of this. So they were like,
oh, they're just getting wind of this.
yeah, you know. Yeah. So they decided to call the housing association that was in charge of Stephen's building, and they were like, hey, can you like keep tabs on him?
That dude that walks those giant lizards.
Yeah,
and reads books about dismemberment and eats mice in the hallway. Can you just watch him a little bit?
Can you watch him? Would you mind?
Yeah.
So the building was like, hell yeah. And you know what? Let's get a baller CCTV, like, security footage maker.
I'm so glad that the building is doing more than the police. That's good.
So they were like, yeah, like, we'll even get, like, a better system for it. So they did.
Hell yeah, building.
This was also around the time in 2009 when he decided to go back to school and get a master's degree. So, bettering himself.
Yeah, I mean, he had a thirst for knowledge.
Yeah, he went to Bradford University, and he decided that he really needed to study the difference between homicides that happened in the 19th century versus today. That's what he was working on in school.
Was that a class?
I don't understand.
Because I'm going to be real. I would have taken that class, but like...
Yeah, but knowing what we know now.
I was going to say, but I don't do any of the things he does. Mm-hmm. But that's a choice.
Yeah, so he was just going to class, learning about homicides.
I was hoping he was going back to like maybe like a philosophy major, and he was going to like chill himself out and have some deep thoughts.
No, that was for like lizard walking. That's when he had his deep thoughts.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So they had no idea what they were going to find on that footage eventually, but yeah, they found a lot.
They sure did.
So let's get into that. Unfortunately, Susan Rushworth was the first woman to turn up missing when Stephen began strolling the streets just hunting for women to take back to his apartment. Remember, I said he lived really close to the red light district, so he was on the hunt for workers especially. Susan herself was born on New Year's Eve, 1965, a holiday baby just like Stephen.
Oh, wow.
And she, too, had dropped out of school at 16, so they had a couple things in common. A year later, she was actually involved in an accident that left her with a brain hemorrhage, so she was 17. And after that, she ended up developing epilepsy.
Oh, geez.
So she really had a tough go at things.
Yeah.
She was trying to push through the hard times. Soon enough, she met a man who she married and had 2 kids with. Unfortunately, though, the marriage only lasted 10 years and they decided to call it quits. And at that point, Susan was struggling with not only epilepsy, but going through a divorce. She's a young woman with 2 kids. She became depressed and eventually, unfortunately, she turned to using drugs to cope.
Yeah.
So 4 years after her divorce, she actually met another man and had 1 more child, but things didn't work out with him either. And she was still struggling with her mental health and drug addiction. So she turned to work in the height of her addiction. And she worked as a worker for almost 10 years. And this is actually just so sad. At one point, she actually ran into her oldest daughter, who was also doing work at the time. So they kind of like teamed up so that she could take care of her daughter on the streets.
Oh, that's really sad.
It's so sad, but she wanted to make sure that she was safe and protected. And I think her daughter got out of it and is like living a great life now. But the life that Susan was living was really taking a toll on her physical and mental health. So she decided she wanted to stop using drugs and stop work and everything altogether. Like she was ready to start fresh. And around the time she disappeared, she had actually been off of drugs for 6 weeks. She was living with her parents and she was helping her mom take care of her dad, who was suffering from dementia.
Oh my God.
So she had really made it a point to like turn things around.
And it seemed like she was on like the right path.
A great path. So the last time anybody saw Susan alive, it was June 22nd, 2009. She left home in the morning. She was going to be taking a bus into Bradford to get her methadone prescription to make sure she could stay off everything that she was on.
Yeah.
She made some stops along the way. She met some friends for a bit. She made plans with another friend for later in the day. She was supposed to meet this friend, but she never ended up meeting that friend, and her prescription was actually never picked up, and she was never seen alive again. Oof. So when she didn't turn up that night, her mom was really worried. She was like, I know that Susan was trying to change things, and like she was really doing a good job. Like I think
that's so tragic.
I think something's happened really bad here. So she called the police and she reported Susan missing, but it would be a lot of time before Susan's family would find out what actually happened to her. It's believed that somehow that day she met Stephen Griffiths and was coerced into going back to his place. Like I said, she wasn't believed to be doing work at the time of her death, so it's unclear why she went back to his place.
Like how he was able to do that?
Yeah, but authorities did see that the last outgoing call on Susan's cell phone was to a friend that was also her drug dealer. So they did assume that maybe like she was having a slip. And they thought maybe she had relapsed that day and spent a lot of time they spent a lot of time looking for Susan in the wrong places, unfortunately.
Yeah. And maybe she was looking for more money.
Exactly.
Because she had gotten herself, she had done something that day, needed more.
Yep.
And this is a quick way to make money.
Exactly. It's so unfortunate.
It is.
And this is just so tragic and sad. Her body has still never been recovered.
Ugh.
And Stephen Griffiths won't say where it is.
Of course not.
So they do know that Stephen was responsible for her murder, though, because blood was later found inside the bathroom that was a match for her blood. And when he later confessed to the other murders that we'll talk about, he told authorities that he attacked Susan with a hammer in his bedroom and then disposed of her body.
And he just refuses to say where.
Won't say where she is.
What a piece.
Susan was only 43 years old. Like I said, she was just getting her life back together, and she had just started getting to know her grandchildren.
Wow.
So this guy is a piece of for doing this to a woman, doing this to anybody, but a woman like this, it's like so sad.
Yeah, and it's also, you can see how weak these kind of assholes are, truly, deep within their soul, because they hang on to that last power grab.
Oh, yeah.
Of I'm not going to tell you where she is, and it's like, fuck you.
Because I need that.
Like, you need that to keep going, or else you know that you'll just fall apart.
He's
because
also
you're
just a flyer, too.
You're made, so if you give up this one last piece of fake power you feel like you have, then you're going to crumble. It just makes them look even weaker.
He is weak, and he's a liar, and he's an asshole. It's just so annoying. So Stephen would go back out on the streets of Bradford just 10 months later looking for his next victim. And his next victim would be Shelley Armitage. She was 31 years old. She was born September 22nd in 1978. She was beautiful. She was smart. She was getting all A's in all her classes. And she had a dream of becoming a model someday. She fell in with a rough crowd at school. She started dating the wrong guy when she was 16. She dropped out of school and she started using party drugs. And then she eventually started doing stronger drugs and just really lost control of everything. One of Shelley's friends remembered her potential to be a model. Like she really could have gone far with this. Like she was absolutely gorgeous. And she said there was a potential there that Shelley could have been a beautiful model.
That's really sad.
It's so sad. But she couldn't model anymore because she was getting sick from addiction and she needed a way to buy the drugs or else she was going to continue to get sicker and sicker. So she turned to work. I wanted to make a point of getting as many details as I could about these women that lost their lives because so many of the sources that I was reading just barely mentioned anything personal about them.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
And they just glossed over who they were and only called them workers and actually didn't even use that term.
Yeah.
Shelley was a lot more than a worker. She was a mother, she was a girlfriend, and she was a dog lover. There were so many things about her and these women that
it doesn't define them.
You need to humanize them a little more.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot more. Now, the last time that Shelley was seen was the night of April 26, 2010. She was working in the red light district right near Stephen's apartment. And when she didn't come home that night, her boyfriend reported her missing and the search was on. Now, they knew that this had to be serious because she had recently gotten a new puppy that she was just head over heels in love with. And they were like, she would not have left that puppy alone.
No.
She loved him so much. So tons of people in the area were questioned. Authorities were putting two and two together and realizing that Shelley and Susan's death were definitely connected. And later, authorities would learn that Stephen had brought Shelley back to his apartment under the guise of paying her for her services. When she got into the apartment, though, he shot her with a crossbow and then used his cell phone to record the rest of the night's events.
What?
Yep. So he took public transportation to get rid of Shelley's remains, and at some point or another, he ended up leaving his cell phone behind.
Oh, no.
It was stolen, and it was sold to a pawn shop. While the owner of the shop was clearing the phone, I guess, of the pictures and videos so he could resell it, they came across a terrifying video. This is a big trigger warning. The video showed a woman lying hogtied on a bed with the words spray painted on her back that said, "My slave."
What?
Spray painted on her back. Then the video jumped to a bathroom where the woman was very clearly deceased at that point and was being actively dismembered. And they could hear a man's voice narrating what was going on in the background. And the voice said, "I am Ven Pariah. I am the bloodbath artist. Here is a model that is assisting me." A model that is assisting me. Nope, that is a woman that you killed. And
wow.
Most likely tortured or did torture.
Wow. And that pawn shop owner
just like got changed for the rest of his life.
Literally got changed for the rest. Like the far-reaching ripples of this situation.
Therapy would be
I can't
needed.
imagine living with that. You just go to work one day, just clearing data off a phone, and that's what you come across.
I mean, like we have said before, like we've accidentally seen pictures that we didn't want to see, like during research and everything. I've never seen a video. Like you wake up in the middle of the night and that image will pop into your head.
Yes.
I can't imagine
that Leslie Ann Downey one will forever haunt me.
Always.
I hate that I saw that.
Literally, like I will wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and I'll find that will pop into my head.
Like we both just shuddered and are closing our eyes trying to clear it from our head. So I can't even fathom seeing a video of that woman hogtied and spray painted with my slave, and then it jumps to a video where you're probably not even ready for it. You're not ready for anything. When are you ever ready for this?
No.
But jumping to a video of him actively dismembering her on a bathroom floor while narrating it.
Literally.
I mean,
and you're like, I'm the bloodbath artist and this is a model that's assisting me. Like
he's so
sick,
gross in every way.
It's so twisted.
Wow.
And unfortunately, I feel like I say unfortunately so much, but
this is all unfortunate.
It's all fitting. That video wasn't seen in time to save Stephen's last victim's life. Suzanne Blaemeyers, I believe is how you say it. She was actually a friend of Shelley's. She was 36 years old when she was last seen. She was born on February 26th, 1974. She was the oldest of 3 children. And her family was a super, super close family. They were pretty well off. Suzanne's mom was able to stay home with the kids while her father worked. And when he wasn't working, they would go on nice vacations. They actually went on an African safari.
Damn.
And I read one article where like there was a classmate of Suzanne's and she was like, yeah, I was always wicked jealous of her family. Like they were awesome. Growing up, Suzanne had dreamed of being a nurse, and she actually started going to school to become a nurse, but she got too involved in the party scene during her time off. She got involved with a guy who was into drugs. He got her into drugs. Slowly but surely, she fell out of her routine of going to school and studying, and she would go out with her boyfriend. She would go to raves and parties, and again, she would quickly become addicted to the drugs that she had just started experimenting with. Like, it was just supposed to be... It never starts off with... of like a full-blown addiction, obviously.
Of course not. Yeah.
But
that's never how someone goes into it.
No, but this led to a heroin addiction. Eek. And when Susan's marriage broke up, she moved in with a known drug dealer in the area. This guy, I think his name is Ifli Hussein, I think is how you say it. He got Suzanne addicted to crack cocaine. Ooh. And basically forced her out onto the streets as a worker so that she could pay for the drugs and he wouldn't have to.
Wow.
And he would beat her mercilessly if she came home with less than $200.
Wow, this is tragic in every way imaginable.
Sad. Like, I just can't imagine this life. I can't imagine. Like, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I truly can't imagine.
Now, Stephen Griffiths, met Suzanne. She went by Amber while she was working. So he met Amber. He took her back to his apartment like he did with the previous woman, but this time he did something different. He kept her alive for 2 days. Now, at one point, she somehow was able to escape and she ran out of the flat. And as she ran out of the apartment, Stephen shot her with a crossbow.
In the hallway.
In the middle of the hallway. And now obviously quickly realized that he was caught on camera because remember that updated CCTV system?
Yeah, when the building did more than the police.
Yeah. He didn't care though. The video footage showed Stephen shoot Suzanne one more time, this time in the head with a crossbow again. He then dragged her body into his apartment. 20 minutes later, he emerged from the apartment. He was caught on camera leaving his apartment holding a crossbow, and he walked right up to the camera and gave it the middle finger.
And you showed me this photo.
And we'll post the photo.
It is
haunting.
So haunting.
Haunting. And that's not it, because I was in the middle of researching this case when I showed that picture to Elena. This is another thing that happened that I hadn't even found out about yet.
Oh my God.
10 minutes later, he was caught on tape again, and this time he was holding a drink, and he made a cheers motion at the camera. Like, cheers. Cheers, guys. You just caught me on camera murdering a woman with a crossbow. Cheers, what's up?
He doesn't give...
No, this is everything he's ever wanted.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to be a serial killer. He wants to...
He thinks this is, like, his badass look of, look at me shooting a woman, like, running away with a crossbow. Wow.
Now, the poor man that found this footage... just working for like a management company, going through some footage. I think I keep saying I think, like I didn't write it down.
I think
his name was Peter Gee. I think that's how you pronounce it, is what I was going to say. Now he was going over all the cameras on Monday, May 24th, 2010. He immediately called police when he saw this, and they were able to review the footage as well. It was as clear as day that was Stephen Griffiths, and it was clear as day that he was at least responsible for this missing woman's death, but they had a pretty good feeling that they could now link him to the other two women as well.
Yeah.
So 60 police officers surrounded the building that afternoon, and they were able to force entry into his apartment. And as they broke down the door, he literally just called from one of the rooms, "I'm in here." Over here, guys.
I literally can't.
Thanks for coming. I'm in here.
Yeah, good of you to show up. Right in here.
It was like he had waited for this moment his entire life, because he had.
I was gonna say.
Now, when they arrested him and read him his rights, his response was, "I am Osama bin Laden."
You're not, though.
That's not the truth.
That's not true.
Thank you, though. Now, later he was being interviewed by police, and he told them that he had not only killed 6 women total. He was like, "I've killed more," and they were like, "How many?" And he held up his hands and did 6. But he also said 6 total, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Actually, that's a good question, but I think he meant 6 total. But he also told them that he ate parts of these 3 women that he was being questioned about. He said he didn't have much time for the human race.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now, while he was being held, they were able to search the River Aire because a black bag had floated to the surface that had been reported. The bag contained the head of Suzanne Blaemeyers, with a crossbow still lodged into her head, lodged into her skull.
That must have been the most macabre thing to see.
Can't even imagine.
A head in a bag with a crossbow.
Like, this case is obviously all the cases that we cover are so dark, but this one
is wild.
Has such a level of just like,
wow.
Mm-hmm. Now, they were able to find some of her other remains, and they were chopped into what they said was nearly 80 pieces.
What?
Now, she actually had to be buried in like a smaller coffin, like a baby-sized coffin, because they just didn't have all of her remains.
Oh my gosh.
They never found everything. They also found other bags in that river containing weapons like hacksaws and razors, and they were like, "Oh, like these are probably
what
his."
These are for.
So they sent them to be forensically tested after letting them dry out. And when they were tested, a small piece of spine was found and determined to belong to Shelley. Yeah. So they were able to at least...
I can't believe they were able to find that.
Seriously, like, what? It's so crazy.
Science.
Now, Stephen told the investigators almost everything they wanted to know, besides where they could find Susan Rushworth's body. He told them, quote, "The murders, they were horrific. Butchered dismemberments, eating parts of all 3 of them. In the first case with Susan Rushworth, in the aftermath, I got the cooker, was taken apart and gotten rid of. So it was 6 months without a cooker before someone moving out of the flats gave me the present one, which you will find traces of Shelley Armitage in. But the third one, I actually just went for it. Tried eating bits of her raw." So now he's saying that he's eaten these women. Oh. Now, an insane amount of evidence was taken from Stephen's apartment, which was how they linked him to Susan's death in the first place. But there was no evidence to prove that he had actually eaten them.
So he might just be saying this just for shock value.
They think he was saying it for shock value, and they think the same thing with the number of victims. Like I said, he hinted at 6, but the investigators were like, they think it was just the 3 women that we do know of.
Yeah, it sounds like he's just he likes the shock of it. I mean, obviously he flipped off the camera and
it's all
cheers to it.
Theater.
It's theater.
And they think that he tried to do this to gain more notoriety because, again, he wanted to become a prolific serial killer.
That makes sense.
A professor of criminology, though, named David Wilson once said, quote, "The key to understanding Griffiths is to realize that he was fixated by the idea of fame. He was like a nightmarish version of a wannabe X Factor contestant."
Wow.
I was like, wow. Okay.
Wow, that's a great way to describe that.
It's honestly like perfect
Truly
sense.
is.
So Stephen Griffiths did what BTK did, and he dubbed himself the Crossbow Cannibal.
Oh, get out of here.
And he did this the first time he appeared in court. He was asked to state his full name for the court, and that was his answer. "I am the Crossbow Cannibal."
No.
No one was
You're
impressed.
Steven.
You're Stephen Face McGee.
Yeah, you're just Steven.
You're an asshat. Now, on
Shut
December
up, Steven.
21st, 2010, he did plead guilty to all 3 murders, and he received a life sentence. The judge on the case told the court, "The circumstances of these murders are so wicked and monstrous, they leave me in no doubt that the defendant should be kept in prison the rest of his life."
Jesus.
So Stephen has gone on hunger strikes while he's incarcerated. He attempted to end his life, I think, like 6 different times at this point, but he's still kicking and having an absolutely terrible time in prison.
Well, that's good.
And actually, Kathy said, she was like, that's the worst place he could be because he's like very antisocial and like he's forced to be around other people. So,
And he's not getting to like be powerful in there.
oh, and he definitely hates it. Now, one of Stephen's last MySpace updates quoted Thomas Harris's novel, The Red Dragon. He wrote, "He is going to become something that other people find astounding and awe-inspiring," and then went on to say, "What will this pseudo-human do, one wonders? Poor Stephen pretended to be me, but he was only the wrapping. He knew towards the end that I supplied the inner core of iron, hatred bound tightly in flesh. At very long last, the time has come to act out." That was posted the night before Suzanne Blamires was murdered.
That's up. And also don't up Red Dragon.
Yeah, like don't do that.
Don't do that.
But
Don't
how
do it.
haunting is that the night before he murdered someone, he wrote
posts that.
"At very long last, the time has come to act out." That's not acting out.
No.
Like
Murdering peace.
But I don't want to end this with him because that's what he would want. So
Of course.
I want to remember the women who lost their lives, and I like to finish this by just sharing what their families had to say about them. So Suzanne Blamires' mother wrote on a wreath that was carried on top of her hearse, "You will always be my shining star."
Oh.
Which made me want to cry.
Yeah.
Susan Rushworth's family has begged Stephen Griffiths to tell them where her body is, but he refuses.
Of course.
Her mother said, "People talk about the death penalty for Griffiths, but I don't believe in it because Griffiths still has secrets. He knows where my Susan is, and if he was dead, then there would be no chance of him giving up that information."
Yeah, it's true.
It is. And Shelley's family read a poem at her funeral by Joanna Fuchs, I believe. It's called "A Better Place," and it read, "She's in a better place right now than she's ever been before. All the pain is gone, and now she's at rest. Nothing troubles her anymore." They also said that she was loving and kind even when her life changed, and she cared and helped for everyone, especially the girls on the streets.
And you know what? Here he was totally thinking that he was killing women who wouldn't
Weren't
have
connected.
friends, wouldn't have family, wouldn't have anyone that
Meanwhile,
missed
2
them.
of his victims were friends.
Exactly.
And did have, all of these women had
And
families
these are the
and children.
These are how stupid these dudes are.
Yeah.
That they just assume that you're a worker, you must not have any connection to the outside world at all.
Doesn't matter.
And it's like, nope. They have
Still a
friends,
human
family, people who love them. They have connections to the outside world. Like,
Well, and actually, I wanted you to say what you had said to me the other day because we were talking about this case and I was saying how frustrating it was that because these women were workers, they were labeled prostitutes in many of the things that I read.
yeah. And we were saying, like, because people will be like, well, it's a high risk lifestyle. Like, what do you think? And it's like, okay, yeah, sure, it is. So is being a race car driver.
Yeah, you make that choice. Like,
And
you
it's
said.
like, so when they die in a car crash, should we just be like, well, it's a high
he was a
risk
race car
lifestyle. I
driver.
don't know what to tell you. Well, he was a race car driver. So no, everybody gets upset and mourns the person because they're a human being.
And then we write articles like highlighting what a great person they were. Because,
Exactly.
Hi, everyone is a person.
exactly.
Like we even say like feel bad for the child that became a murderer.
yeah,
Like,
just don't feel bad for the adult. But it's like, I hate that like high risk thing because it's like there's a lot of high risk jobs, and when someone dies doing it, you don't just go, well,
it was a high risk
the death
job.
Doesn't matter because they put themselves at risk. It's
and
like,
then you
no,
don't go on to just like
still
not shed any light into who they were as a human because they chose a high risk job.
That's not all they were. It just frustrates me.
It makes me so angry. But
wow,
that is the case of the Bradford murders. Stephen Griffiths is a asshole. He's a liar and he's disgusting.
That is the murderer, Stephen.
Yeah.
Just Stephen.
That's Stephen over there.
Dumb ass Stephen.
Stephen over there in the garden.
Yeah, and there's I happened to look up like some of the photos of the like CCTV footage, and there's a couple of like that. There's one of that they caught of her literally like that they published of her literally like running down the hallway looking back at him, and he is snarling. Like he's snarling.
Terrifying.
Like a wild animal snarling.
Yeah. I'm not going to post that one. You can look for that yourself.
You want to see that yourself, you go look for it, but
I'll definitely post the one where he flips off the
just
camera.
Seeing how like just wild
like
he
animalistic
was in that moment, that poor woman.
I can't imagine.
Because she's looking behind her shoulder, seeing something worse than a wild, terrible animal
yielding a crossbow.
With a crossbow.
How do you get away from
snarling at her?
Yielding a crossbow.
That's stuff you can't make up. No. It really is.
And can you imagine being Kathy or Zeta?
No.
Like, oh, I got away from that man. Or the woman who just like stayed in his flat and would shower there, and he was like, he would cook for her and was nice to her.
No.
She was probably like, why was he nice to me? Like,
I literally can't fathom that.
Could that have happened to me? There was multiple women who were like, that could have been me.
Yeah. That's outrageous.
So sad. And it's so sad for these 3 women's families.
It's so crazy to me.
It's nuts.
Wow.
But yes, that is Stephen.
Wow. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I've never heard of that one.
I hadn't either. I think I had seen that photo before, like on
I think it had like popped through somewhere. But
yeah, but I'd never knew about this case as a whole. That's for sure.
Wild.
So yeah,
damn.
After that, we definitely hope you keep listening,
and we hope you
keep
it weird.
But not so weird that you walk around with your lizards on a leash on the hallway and then you go on to murder people with a crossbow, because that's really just not okay. And if you are going to do that, like, don't do that, because I don't want you to. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, don't do any of that. Bye.
If you like Morbid, you can listen early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.